Okay, it is Tuesday, May 6, 2025, 5:30 PM. You are at a meeting of the Economic Development Committee in the city of Wausau with a quorum present. I will call the meeting to order. First up on the agenda is public comment. And we do have someone here for public comment, so if you would just state your name, address, and 3 minutes.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, hi. My name is Becky Hebda. All of the agenda items today are of great interest to our family. We live at 1625 Cleveland, which is one house away from the Wyatt Street addresses. I own a business that is at 1602 North 2nd Street, which is one house away from the proposal on North 2nd. And we're very interested in learning anything about the Domtar Dam as well, since our home is on the lake. So this was amazing that these are all at the same meeting. But I wanted to point out some things about the request for interest of the draft at North 2nd. I really would like the city to take into consideration that intersection at Bridge and North 2nd is already very, very difficult for all of us to get in and get out of. There's a busy dentist on that corner. There's a convenience store on an opposite corner. There's a very popular bakery. There's trucks coming in and out of Alpine Insulation right there. So if we're going to consider putting in additional housing units, I really think we need to reconsider what it looks like on the streets there, because it's already very difficult at certain times of day to turn left or right off of North 2nd in either direction. So that was my feedback, and I just really wanted to ask you to keep all of us businesses in mind, and if you need feedback from businesses up there, please reach out, because I think some of us might have insight for you. Thanks.
Thank you. Oops, it's really loud. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to agenda item number 2, which is the approval of the minutes from the March 4th, 2025 meeting and the joint finance meeting from April 22nd, 2025. So did anyone have a chance to look over the minutes? Any questions? Any revisions needed? Nothing? Okay, so if everything's okay, I'm looking for then a motion to approve the minutes from those 2 meetings, March 4th and April 22nd. Motion by Alder Killian, second by Alder Tierney. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Then that motion is passed. Number 3 on the agenda is discussion and possible action on the responses to the request for qualifications for partnership for housing on infill lots in the city of Wausau. Ms. Stratz is here.
Hello. So as you know, we put out our request for qualifications as we asked you for your not opinion, but to allow us to do so. We were very excited that we got 3. They are part of your packet. We did talk to all 3 of them, actually talked to them before they even submitted, just to get an idea how they handled things. We toured one of them, the Quality Homes one in Irma. We went and toured and got to talk to him and met his general contractor. They all pretty much, I don't want to say the same thing. They all kind of have the same philosophy. The designs are out there. We can figure out what works best with each properties, and they have a lot of expertise between, do we want to do a manufactured home versus a modular home? Do we do a basement? Do we do crawl space? What do we do? And they can really help us identify the lot, what works best in that area, and help us keep the costs down, but not giving a cheap product, because we don't want to give a cheap product, but we also can't afford the, as I say, the brass handrails and gold-plated stuff. They are expensive. We just had a groundbreaking with Habitat, and they had indicated how much the modular home that they're going to purchase is expensive. And And unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that. Construction costs are construction costs. But if you want us to move forward, I believe this would be a way that we can work with a contractor, and depending on your feel, we can choose one. We can say that this is our pool of contractors, that maybe we can get more bang for our buck. We're open for suggestions as to how you want us to move forward.
Thank you. Alder Tierney.
Thank you, Tammy. When you say expensive,
You're talking, they're going to be about 300,000 once everything's, and a stick build is about that too. I was a little disappointed in that. Now, if you do a manufactured home, it'll bring the cost down. And it really depends on, do you do a basement or do you do a slab on grade? Do you do a crawl space? There's all these all these little things that they can help us tweak to bring the cost down.
okay, did you find one that you thought was,
That's the cool part is I like them all.
okay,
They all are very intelligent. They all gave us time and answered all of our questions. I don't see one being better than the other. I think they just have different product, and they might have a different expertise on different size lots, how to configure it. I would be happy to work with all of them.
'cause my thought is we should look at something that's close to what Habitat for Humanity provides.
They are working with Quality Homes.
Okay,
Just found that out tonight, too.
okay. 'Cause I,
And they're still negotiating on what that price is going to look like. They said that they were, because of construction costs, it came up another 5% higher than what they were anticipating. Unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast.
did they, they're working with Quality Homes, you said, is there a model that they're using?
They don't have it concrete yet, so they're not, I haven't seen it.
Okay, thank you.
But they are looking at doing a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, just so you have an idea of size.
Mr. Pfeiffer. Okay. Or any other questions or comments? Okay.
Yeah.
Alder Killian.
Thank you. I had an opportunity to talk with Randy. I made a phone call to him because your memo indicated that they were single-family homes you were looking for, and I saw that one of the builders mentioned duplexes, so I just wanted to affirm that these were going to be single-family homes, and Randy did indicate that, yes, that's what your goal is, but he also said that if in the future there would be a lot that would be amenable to, for example, a duplex, and it would be surrounded by duplexes, then
It could be a
that's something
possibility.
you would consider as an option. I understand the priority for these projects is, of course, to provide affordable homes for many who are otherwise unable to afford a home. Since this is my first year in office, I don't know if any of the other districts have had any public participation processes for the infill lots. Is that something that's ever been done for these, or has that not been a consideration?
It's never been a concern. When we worked with the technical college, we notified the neighborhood as to what was going on, and we haven't done one since we worked with the technical college. And we would notify the neighborhood, and actually the neighborhood had a lot of fun coming and watching the construction happening. And we did do like an open house after it was done, so the neighborhood could see it, which I think we could do here too, just to make sure that they get to see the finished product and everybody takes pride in it. We only got good feedback from them.
Well, that's good to hear. I know, as Alder Gisselman has mentioned multiple times, he has concerns about the home style fitting into the neighborhood. So I guess I would repeat that as well. I know some of the homes, I don't know if they had a flat roof or,
We will never do a flat roof,
okay.
and we always have front porches.
I was,
Always a
Okay.
front porch.
All right, I just
I shouldn't
wanted-
say never. Our home over on, our 6-unit over on Fulton Street, the architect designed a flat roof. I lost that battle. I was not happy about it. It's doing okay, so,
I know flat roofs can be an issue, so
especially
I'm-
in Wisconsin. You got snow.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
I
thank you,
agree.
Tammy.
And the duplex thing, I didn't even know you could do modular homes with duplexes, so that was something I learned.
Mr. Pfeiffer?
Yeah, so I think Tammy did a great job explaining and getting all these proposals in. Looks like we have 3 qualified contractors that we can work with. The way that I'd like to work this moving forward, which I think will provide the best value to the city, is that we'll have all 3 of these contractors as approved contractors, and when we have a lot available, we can work with all 3 of them to see that who has the best product that not only fits the neighborhood, but comes in at the best price point.
Thank you. Alder Hinkie, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we plan on keeping this open if more contractors are interested? Would that be,
I would say sure, I just don't know formality if that's something that we can or can't do, since it was a request for, I guess that would be a question we'd have to talk to our.
I just,
about.
if things go well and.
Oh, absolutely.
And people, or, these contractors benefit too.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
There might be more people wanting to sign up, so I just
that's an
want to keep
excellent
thinking of
point.
that, so.
If I can respond,
you.
I think, if you look at this process and how we got to this point today, there's been a lot of times where we've had to pivot and come back and look and figure out where the best value is for the city. Right now, we have some infill lots that we have 3 contractors, and I think if we move forward and we run into a hurdle again, we'll have to come back and look at that. My hope is that with these 3 contractors that have come in, met our requirements, that we'll be able to work with them, at least in the short term, and we'll see how it plays out long term. But there's always the possibility of introducing a new contractor to our pool.
Other questions or comments from committee members? Alder Hinkie?
Are you looking for a motion or just kind of a consensus that this is the path forward?
We would like a motion to approve the contractors to move forward for single-family infill housing.
Okay, I will make said motion.
I just have one question for you, Randy. So you said you're going to have all the contractors, kind of tell us what they can do. Is it going to be on similar models, so it's, apples to apples, so to speak?
Yeah, I think apples to apples, obviously, you got to take into consideration the lot and the lot dimensions and anything topography-wise that play into it, but trying to find where the best value is. Tammy talked about it earlier. We're probably not going to be looking at the high-end, 3 bedrooms. We're going to be finding somewhere where that middle ground is, but trying to work with them to find out where that added value is. One of the mistakes that we made in going through that previous process is we defined what they had to give us. Now, we could have said, well, what if instead of doing basements, do we do a slab on grade? What's the cost savings there? So being able to have that conversation with them directly. As we toured the facility in Irma, they have a whole sheet, you can do this instead of this, and you can save $5,000. If you want a higher pitched roof, it's this. So there's an entire sheet that we can play off to try to find where that best value is. So we're getting our housing, it's quality, and it fits the neighborhood.
The other question that I was going to ask is, Habitat for Humanity doesn't provide a garage, and I know last time we were talking about a garage. Could we get prices with and without that, just to see?
The city of Wausau requires a garage on all new construction.
How does Habitat for Humanity?
They have garages.
They do?
All
Okay,
of them have one-car garages.
okay. So we could do a one-car garage
Yes,
versus
absolutely,
2? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and no other question? Okay, so motion by Hinkie and second by Tierney to approve the request for qualifications. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then that motion passes. Thank you, thank you.
I'm just going to stand here.
Okay. Yeah, number 4 on the agenda, discussion and possible approval of 208 to 214 Wyatt Street property sale disposition application.
So that's me again. This one actually fell into our laps, and I didn't believe it could be true. As you know, we've had property on Wyatt Street for many years. I went back into our archives to see if I could figure out how long, and I can't find specific dates except for 208 Wyatt. We had purchased that one in 2003, demoed it, and had it put it up for sale in 2005. Here we are in still 2025. I have notes in the file that we actually talked to a buyer in 2011, but that's all it was email back and forth, and then they fell away. We did get the closure letter on the bigger lots on 214, November of 28. We still sat on it for another 7 years with DPW maintaining it. We'd get calls several times because it was part of the property disposition program, so it was on our website. I'd get excited about someone following through, and then it'd fall away from the wayside. 2018, I started asking questions about how to bring it out of the floodplain. What do we have to do with the environmental? If we take it on ourselves, can we redevelop it? So there's some, we've been working on this project for a very, very long time. And then obviously when we tried to bring the project forward in 2023, and that didn't happen. So when the private sector came and said they wanted to take care of it, I jumped for joy. Talking to Gunther Nowak, he is a young man. He income qualifies for our block grant, which made me excited because that means he's on the lower income. His father is a contractor, so they're working together to build his own home. He had talked to Bill Hebert extensively about what do they need to do in the floodplain. He had first envisioned having 2 side-by-side duplexes. He's going to live in one unit and rent out the others to help make his mortgage. But because of the floodplain and the sloping and the configuration of both of those, it didn't work like he was hoping for, and that's why I came back with one side-by-side duplex. And after, what the public outcry from when we did the other one, they wanted small, so this is smaller scale like they asked for. They provided a copy of what they're envisioning. They do have to go through Plan Commission because of rezoning it. They do have, he is pre-approved for a loan, so that's good news. Downsize is, yes, he's only asking to buy it for a minimal amount, but considering how long we've owned it, it hasn't been on the tax base for how many years, we've been maintaining it, how much longer do we want to do that? So, we've been, like I said, we've been talking to him, trying to move this forward. He wanted to go to Plan Commission quicker, but he wanted to see what happened tonight because we said, I hate to have you pay all that money for Plan Commission and it doesn't move forward. So here we are.
Alder Killian.
I'm glad you remained at the podium, Tammy. Bear with me because I have several questions or concerns. First of all, I know that you mentioned that he wants the city to do the fill, I guess, to raise the property so it's not in the floodplain anymore. Is that requirement from FEMA something that is required no matter who uses that lot?
Correct.
Okay, so that'll have to be evaluated after it's done. Do we have any idea how much that's going to cost?
I had asked that question because, again, he is eligible, block grant eligible. I got his paycheck stubs and everything, so he does fall under the income guidelines. We would be able to assist him with the block grant funds. They anticipated, and it was just a rough number after talking with REI, that it'd be about $25,000.
Okay, and he's asking the city to do that, correct?
He's asking for us for that assistance. It would be in the form of a mortgage, so we would place it on the property to ensure that if he flipped it or whatever, he'd have to pay us back. But I would envision it as kind of a forgivable loan that after he lives in it for 5 years, 10 years, it would be slowly forgiven so that he can build the equity up in the
But
house.
it's still a cost to the city.
Yes.
Okay.
Which
The
we would
other-
have to do if we did anything with it.
With anybody, okay. The second concern would be the request to pay $1,000 for that 3-parcel lot. And I did call the city assessor to ask if that were not tax exempt and owned by the city, what would that sell for? And he said those lots improved. 2 of them face Wyatt Street and 1 doesn't, but the 2 that face Wyatt Street would each be assessed at 17.5, and the other one at 16 something, and that would be a total of $51,800. So I personally cannot see providing that parcel to anybody for $1,000. I think by the time we did that and we took care of the remediation and took care of the fill, I think the city would be at a tremendous loss. That doesn't seem practical to me. And the other question I have is, there was a resolution passed in March of 2024 as to the disposition of property in the city of Wausau. And I don't see that the way this is coming forward to ED, that follows any of those guidelines. It talks about vacant land that can be sold to adjoining neighbors for whatever the assessment department says, but there's no guideline. This doesn't meet any guidelines for the disposition of property, I don't believe.
We looked at that also, and in there's a stipulation for properties that were purchased for redevelopment. If it's under 4 units, it could be handled through the property disposition program and not through an RFP.
I
So this
didn't
is
see
under
that in the resolution when I reviewed
Oh,
it.
it might not have been in the resolution itself, but it's in the guidelines that the resolution attached itself to.
Okay. I guess this is not something that I can support because of the cost to the city, because of him wanting it to be sold for $1,000. And I did talk to the city attorney about the disposition of properties, and I think she reviewed it too. I don't know if she's had more of an opportunity to review it, but she did not feel that it fell into any of those guidelines. So
That's
this is
interesting,
not
because we've had a
something-
discussion about this when we wrote with how we both understood
sorry,
it.
Ken,
I
what?
said when we did the property disposition program, we had several conversations about it, and this lot would have fit within it.
Anyway, because of those reasons, I would not be able to support this.
Alder Tierney.
I guess my question, Tammy, all these things are loud, is with these 3 lots, are we waiting for people to come to us and buy them, or have we ever used, say, a realtor to try to sell
I've
these?
talked to a realtor, but because of what they would sell for, nobody wants to take on that workload for a vacant lot. Working with the city, I've been told by a couple of them that it's not worth their time.
When you say it's because of what they would sell
Or
for,
probably what they would sell for, yes.
okay, so what do you mean by that? Because 17,000, 17,000?
Sure, 17,000 is what we could ask for, but I truly don't believe we get it.
Okay, I guess,
In the floodplain and with environmental issues, I don't foresee us seeing it. We've been holding on to this for how long, how many years, and we can't sell it. We've talked to people, I've talked to people that were interested until they found out other issues, and we had it for sale for $25,000 at one point, and nobody's biting. So at what point do we get it back on the tax roll?
well, I don't think it's a good idea to put it on the tax roll if the city's going to take a loss of $75,000 between the $50,000 that the land is worth, according to the assessor, the $22,000 to put the buildup from, so it's not on the floodplain. I feel that the city would have to do the remediation regardless of who would buy it. It's just the right thing to do. But I don't know where we have ever listed it, if it gets listed on the website for the city, or,
It isn't right now because we're in the middle of reconfiguring the website. None of our lots are out there, and it's been high priority. We've got to get that finished because, yes, we would like to get, even the ones that we just recently purchased, we want those all out there too.
and I think that's a mistake that we make, is we seem to step into the real estate position
Trust me, I don't
too
want to be here.
often. I mean, we go and we
I would
buy
love to
these
get-
lots
be done with this
because,
stuff.
we buy these lots because, hey, we're going to get this and this and this on, and it's going to be back in the tax base, and then we hang on to these and hang on to these and hang on to these. So
It's not for the sake of trying.
no, but I think that that's something that we have to relook at as a city. But, yeah, I guess I just feel like it should be listed before we give somebody $1,000 purchase for this. I mean, we do that all too often.
And then-
WAS is one of the things, I mean, it's just, we sold that great big piece of land, and I know they say, well, it's because it was an empty mall, but I think we just keep taking hit after hit after hit on the properties that we buy and then sit with. So I guess I would like to see it listed on the website along with our other cities, because I know you say get it on the tax base, but how long would it take to pay back what he's got it on the tax base and say he's getting taxed $5,000 a year. 10 years, it's 50,000. It's going to take a long time to get that so where it's positive for the city.
Sure, but right now we're getting nothing, and haven't been since 2008. So add that up.
Alder Killian. Oh,
Just
Killian,
just
yeah.
one more comment. Tammy, you mentioned that it hadn't sold because of the remediation and the floodplain, but if the city's saying they're going to do that anyway, I mean, you're
We never
saying,
said we were going to.
But
In
it-
this case, he had asked us, and because he fell under the block grant income, we could assist him with that. If it was someone that's over income, then block grant wouldn't be able to. This is a way of taking that expense off of the city portion. It's the federal funds that would be able to take care of those.
but I mean, if it goes on the market, that's something that people can negotiate. I mean, so I think unless it's actually for sale and on the website and people are given a chance to know that it's available, and like you say, it's been available for a long time, but I don't know that we've been marketing it. And I too think we need to get out of the real estate business. So I know that makes it hard for you sometimes and for ED, but I just wanted to mention that if we're considering doing it for this individual, then maybe that's something that could be negotiated with someone who's willing to pay an appropriate price for that parcel. Thank you.
Did you have a question? I have a question, so that I can be clear in my head. So because of his income, we could use federal funds
Correct,
to pay for the remediation.
correct.
If it were someone not under that income, the city would have to pay?
If we were negotiated, we'd have to find a different pot of money, correct.
Okay. Okay. Alder Tierney.
But what I'm understanding is that it would be a forgivable loan if he stayed there a certain amount of time, so
Which
he's
we've
not going
looked
to have
at
to pay
doing
that
for like
off.
Thomas Street properties. We've been looking at that equity because of what it's going to cost when we build it versus what we can sell it for. There's that equity, and we were looking to forgive that after so many years also. So it's the same model that we're looking at for Thomas Street. It's just less money. Because he's doing it himself, we're not building it.
Alder Gisselman.
Yes, that we have a neighbor. Did the neighbor wish to speak on this issue, or?
I didn't know if I could say anything.
Of course. Well, I should lead to the chair, of
Yeah.
course, but
Yeah, if the committee would like to hear, sure.
come to
You
the
have to,
mic.
yeah.
Well, first of all, I kind of liked the idea of the gentleman, the Nowak gentleman, only because I think that the neighborhood was from, I think that's the family name, where it kind of came from. And that house looked very nice. I think that was the example, and it looked very nice for the neighborhood. We're all for having that filled in. I think it'll be lovely to have new neighbors there, so that's fine. My question would be regarding we didn't even know it was for sale. So we've lived there for over a year. We didn't know those properties were for sale. Not that we don't necessarily need more space, but we're also on the Lake Association, the Lake Wausau Association, and there are always people contacting us to say, hey, do you know of any property available on the lake, near the lake? We're looking to get, maybe we could get easement, we could get access to the lake. Maybe somebody can, I don't know, we have a lot of space on our shoreline. Maybe we can put in an extra dock and they can just rent from us for the summer. It's a way to be creative and sell that off to people in the community that want to come here and want access to the lake. It's a really popular thing available. And for 17 grand, that's a steal to be even close to the water. If you were going to buy a lot, at least in our experience on the lake, you're spending 150 just for the lot, and then you're clearing it and doing all that work too. So I guess I just wanted to say, like, and putting it on the city website, I mean, I work with the government and I don't think to go to the city website to look for things like that. So even a sign on that property in the last year would have been helpful for me to know that it was available and for sale. So I think that there might be other options available to get people to be interested. And then if you talk to some of the neighbors about, hey, would this person be able to just have an easement of this far to be able to get to the lake, to their dock? That would be a neat selling point for somebody that wants to get close to the lake but can't maybe afford to be right on the lake. So, did you have a question for me specifically? Oh.
I should repeat, if you had something to say, I just wanted to make sure as a neighbor you had something to say with regard to this property.
Well, thanks. That's all. I mean, we're excited. I know we heard hubbub that maybe a couple of years ago there might have been people that weren't so thrilled about additional housing going in right there, but I mean, well, why not? I mean, bring in some neighbors. That's what we say. So.
Alder Hinkie, thank you, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I've sat here now and said, let's have the private market tell us what these lots are worth and valued at, and this is the private market coming to us. Might not have been advertised the best, but I think it's, I think we owe it to this person to at least put it to a vote. So I'll move to approve the sale of 208 to 214 Wyatt Street property to the applicant.
Is there a second?
I will second it for the discussion to move it. So I have a question again. We're going to have to clean it up somehow. I'm curious why we have never taken that step to just clean it up to begin with, to make it more easy to sell in the future, but
It's not that, it's not that easy. There's portions of the lot that are fine. It depends on where you're moving the soil. When you move that specific soil, you have to take it to a specific landfill because and then bring in clean fill. If you're not moving it, it's fine. It's if you start digging down, then you have to worry about hitting the contaminations. So the top is fine, the top soil's fine, but it's when you start digging. So it really depends on where you place the house as to what you will have to remove. So we're not going to assume, and we're not going to, remove all the soil at a heavy expense, not knowing where the house will be placed.
but
Because
if we,
everybody's going to place it in different places.
but if we agree to this, we're assuming that exactly will happen then, right? Because there will be,
Right,
it's
right.
not on grade, it's not on slab, it's,
Oh, no, because it's in the floodplain, it has to be on slab.
an elevated slab.
Correct. So we might not, it's where you're going to, where you might disturb is where you're putting in the water and sewer line.
Right.
But if you're putting that in an area that they've deemed not contaminated, then you don't have to worry about it. It has, the map is specific as to what areas you have to worry about. Don't ask me how it got there. I'm not the engineer. That's-
So what would be the
Nars said.
the valuation of this property once, if this is agreed to? What will this be assessed at?
I can't answer that question. I'm not an assessor, but I'm
Well-
assuming it's going to be whatever the cost of the building is. They're going to take a look at that versus, because they'll have to disclose what the construction costs are going to be with pulling that permit.
Right.
So they'll have an idea of what that is going to cost, and then they're going to take a look at the neighborhood, other properties around it to come up with a valuation. It's my best stab at that one.
And he is living under income,
Correct. He's a first-time home buyer. He's got the
Right.
ability of being a contractor, learning the trade with his
Right.
dad, so he's got some ability to make this work. Would he be able to do it under normal circumstances? I don't think so.
so he'll be building the house in,
Correct.
thank you.
Alder Killian? Oh,
If I could just address Alder Gisselman's concerns and kind of the question about timing of everything, specifically to the floodplain piece of it. It's very site-specific about how you'd want to or add additional soil to the property. So until we know what the footprint and how the property is going to lay out, building a pad or something like that would probably be too early in the works, because you're really going to be doing that work based on what they're going to be building on the property. You could do something ahead of time to get it out of the floodplain, but it works almost better if we know what the footprint's going to look like so that we can minimize what additional fill we're bringing in if we have to bring in fill. And then in the question of valuation, I think in the packet, estimated construction costs were around $250,000. That was that was the loan amount, so. I imagine you're going to be, I don't know that you can build a duplex, stick-built duplex for under $300,000.
For him, it'll be a little less just because I'm sure he's going to get some free labor.
Well, but that's still going to go back
But it's
into
still
what the
going to go back
assessed
to the
value
value
is
of the
going to be,
property.
so.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Alder Killian.
We've just heard from one of the neighbors that they weren't aware that it was for sale and that they may know people who think the price of those lots is very reasonable. So it would seem to me that we should market those properties to see if indeed they can't be sold. And I would agree, anything close to the water or that accessible, if it was made public, might sell.
And I agree, we didn't have the signs up there because we took them down when we were going to redevelop it ourselves, and we haven't put them back.
And this is no fault to you, Tammy. This is just a thought about the city's costs and what the city could gain by putting those on the market.
Thank you, Alder Hinkie.
Thank you. Now, again, I've heard multiple times that we shouldn't be in the real estate business, and now if we deny this, we're asking people to go back and be in the real estate business where we have an offer to get rid of some property and get it back on the tax roll. So I'm going to support this. Thank you.
Alder Tierney.
I think how we got into the real estate business was by buying them in the first place. And, but that doesn't mean, since we've been stuck with them, that we can't market them and get a reasonable price for them. Because the city needs that money. And I don't think that we should keep giving lots to people for $1,000 or less, just because we can get rid of them that way. By the real estate business, my feeling is we should have never brought them, but we did. So now my thought is, let's try to get a decent price for them. That's it. And by the way, and property close to the water is very expensive. Thank you.
I don't know which. Alder Hinkie.
When I moved to town, everyone was mad that we were selling property for $1. now we're selling property for $1,000 and people are still mad. What do we have to do? I don't get that. Thank you.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
I'm going to ask staff a question because Tammy's vast experience with the city. A lot of times in former careers, I was doing floodplain management and different things like that. I know there's times when FEMA will make grants available for flood-prone areas where they're encouraging the communities to purchase the properties to get them out of the flood zone or to come back and rehab the area so that they are raising the homes out of the floodplain. Do you know if that was the case with these properties where there was FEMA grants involved with the city purchasing of these at all?
Great question. It being in the floodplain was not the reason why we purchased it. We purchased it because of it being an old automotive, mechanical repair shop. So it was a gentleman that had a big barn in the back of it, or shed, garage, whatever you want to call it, in the back of his house, and he did mechanic work out of his backyard. And as things happened throughout the years, the place became contaminated. And honestly, I don't know why. I know we got involved because of the brownfield, because it was contaminated soil, and how the DNR got involved. We were encouraged to purchase it because then we were able to receive grants to clean it up, which we did. I can't tell you what source of funds we used to buy it. It could have been block grant funds because it was deemed a brownfield at the time. I do know that we used block grant funds to demolish it, but then it was for a blighted property, so that was okay. And we received some reimbursements from the DNR for the expenses that we put into it. That was all back in 2008, 2010, somewhere around there. But now the funding through the DNR is unfortunately no longer there. So we were reimbursed for 75% of the costs, but we're still left. That's why we bought it at that point, and that's all I remember.
I'm going to ask you one question.
Sure.
Do you remember at all, ballpark figure, what we paid?
No, I found an old file, but I don't have any information on that one. And I was looking for a year, and I couldn't find that either. So I know I was here, but I wasn't, I know enough just because I kind of heard talking about it.
I think that, of course, we want the city to be able to, to become whole off of sales. At the same time, I myself have been, got I don't know if it was at the block grant or whatever, when I was a first-time homeowner myself. And I really, really appreciated it. And I guess, we can, hindsight is 20/20, as they say, and we've heard you say how long that you've been trying to get rid of this property. And so I guess for me, myself, in good conscience, hearing also that the potential buyer right now, is, maybe that was the home, the original place of where that buyer lived or whatever. I guess if there's finally someone, okay, could that be put back on the market? And I mean, at the same time, what I would love to see someone that doesn't have a lot of money for a home be able to benefit also. And, I mean, there are different ways of looking at it, I guess. I mean, I bought my house and I got, help from the loan at 2% interest. I don't know if that would be the same, but I mean, I didn't have any plans of moving. I'm still living there. I plan to keep living there, but I was really, really grateful. And I was a teacher and I qualified for that. So I guess I agree with Alder Henke. I mean, I agree with all of you that it would be nice to be able to make money from it. But again, nothing is ever set in stone the way things change. And so I guess if we were not wanting to do this, I would want to give that the potential buyer a chance. I don't know. I just don't, me personally, I'm not just going to vote against it and cut that person out of it because we might be able to get more now. I guess I just can't in good conscience do that. I would like to also give someone the opportunity because there's, they've got a chance to do the work and cut the costs down and things like that as well. So that's just my own opinion. Did you have, Alder Gisselman?
Just a final, the $1,000 is, as you can hear, a big,
I knew it would be.
just so that I take it. But as long as we have opportunities to deal with the floodplain issue as well as the contamination, we've been dealing with this for a long time, so we'll see what this will go to the city council. So for now, I'm supporting it, but I'm anxious to see what the city council says. I think that if this is a way to resolve that property, I guess I'm for it. And with agreement, partial agreement with the neighborhood, I think I can support this at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you because that's exactly, I also question the $1,000 too. I mean, I'm not saying like, oh yeah, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I have felt the same way, but I guess hearing more about it and hearing that it's not just like a property, there's a lot that has to be done. And so that's where I was, and it does have to go to city council. So that always leaves room for more discussion, which is nice. Other questions or comments? Okay, then if none, we have a motion from Alder Henke and a second from, was it Alder Tierney? No, Alder,
Gisselman.
oh, Alder Gisselman, I'm sorry. I couldn't remember after all the discussion. So all those in favor then of, let's see, it would be approving the 208 to 214 White Street property sale disposition application. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so 3 in favor, 2 opposed. And that will move on. Thank you. So number 5 on the agenda, review of draft for North Second Street redevelopment request for interest. Mr. Lynch.
Hello. So what you have in your packet is our draft RFI document for the North Second Street properties. And really what we're doing with this is, obviously it's a draft. We're looking for your feedback, input on this, and either now or at a later time, you can always just contact me with that. And I'll kind of go over the timeline of what we're looking at with this. But really our goal with this is to find a developer to work with on this site. These are properties the city's been acquiring over the years. And we acquired the last one in this group last year with using CDBG funds. So we do have a timeliness factor we're trying to adhere to as far as getting this site developed. And the goal is to find a developer to kind of work with us on the project. We're not asking for a full-fledged proposal. We're looking at the qualifications and past history of what the developer's done in order to kind of be able to shape something that'll best utilize the space and interact with the neighborhood. So we do have a previous plan from 2015, which is the East Riverfront Brownfield plan that did kind of touch on this area. It showed a multi-use building that was fronting Bridge Street. That was 10 years ago, so we kind of feel it's our best to do a neighborhood public input meeting, which we're looking for in May, probably the 3rd week. We're still working out those details. And we just kind of want to take the opportunity with that to understand, the neighborhood, how something would fit in with their understanding the concerns or ideas they may have. We'll also have a kind of virtual version of that on the website and have a feedback form in there as well in case people weren't able to make the first one. So So we're looking to do that in May. In June, tentatively, we're looking to come back to this committee for approval of the final document. And if that's approved, it would go out, and probably August, we're looking at a review of submissions, but the timelines are a little bit flexible. What we're looking at with this really is housing and potentially some commercial. It remains to be seen. We want to have some flexibility, be open to some different options. We're really looking at also closing 2nd Street and that block, so I think that would take care of some of the traffic concerns with that interaction. We would maintain an easement of about 30 feet for the utilities that are currently there, and maintain that as a bicycle pedestrian access. That's something that we want to understand with the neighborhood as well. And with the housing, we're not looking at anything too dense, kind of more of a gentle density, somewhere more than a single-family home, less than a 6-plex, say. So, with that, we can take any questions, or you can reach out to me at a later time.
Alder
Alder
Killian.
I really appreciate the fact that the draft for development contains public participation. But it says it's just going to be put in the documentation, and it talks about what we can do to. My concern is that there's public participation, and then what's done with it. Is it just going to be put in the documentation? Is
Oh,
it
thank you.
possible in those 25 scoring points to say that the development proposal is being scored based on public participation? Because as we just heard, it is a concern up there, and this is 2 blocks surrounded by a working-class neighborhood. So I really think the value of public participation is critical for this area.
Sure, I agree, it's very valuable. It's always hard to know exactly what kind of feedback you're going to get. So I can definitely see us, obviously, the feedback we get will be documented on our end, and we will work into the document, where appropriate, that input. So, if, for example, it would come back as, we don't want anything taller than 2 stories, that would be, a guideline we would use. We can also keep track of that, and if requested by the respondent, we can provide kind of the more raw data of the feedback.
Is it possible to, in the scoring sections, when they're being scored, to score based on public does it satisfy?
I would have to look at that. I'd have to dig into that a little bit before I give you an answer to that, but I will note your request and take a look at that. So,
Thank you, Andrew.
yeah.
Thank you. Alder Gissman.
Yes, thank you. Well, this is a neighborhood, and if you're thinking about everything south of Bridge Street, if you're going to be closing off 2nd Street there at Bridge, for further commercial development on Bridge Street, I just don't think would work because of the amount of traffic and and I'm not sure where else you would be putting commercial development. Certainly not on DeKalb.
No.
Running everything south of Bridge on 2nd Street, that is basically housing, pretty standard one-family housing. I don't know that we would want to go much more than that. The housing on First Street, Trolley Flats, as well as the other development to the south, pretty much fits into that neighborhood. And I think the developers were on purpose with regard to developing those projects that fit really well into the neighborhood. And that's what I would be looking at. I think that there's not that much space left for housing as such. The other thing is that I think we need some green space in there. I think that as part of some green space, I know that at one time there were community gardens as part of that, being a part of the,
Yep.
being a part of the neighborhood, and I think that was always a strong effort, and I think there are still people in this day and age who would still be willing to help with some type of community garden, and perhaps the city can even take that project on. I think there's a lot that can happen with this neighborhood. I think one-family housing is the way to go, but I think other amenities in that neighborhood, I think, would be strong, that feeds not only east of First Street, but that whole corridor, really all the way up to Fifth Street. So I think that that all feeds out of those a few commercial buildings on Third Street. That's sort of a magnet, but I think the basic of that neighborhood is the one-family housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Gitzelman. Any other questions or comments? Alder Tierney?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
I would like to hear from the neighbor. We heard from them about the piece of land behind them. They own a business there. So how would this affect their business and other businesses in the area? Because we have to take care of our business owners too. I understand about the housing, but we still have to, we need our businesses. And I would like to hear what they have to say as a business owner in that parcel.
Okay. Well, again, I'm Becky Hebda at the business I own is at 1602 North Second, so just right across the street there. What we do is we help people who have disabilities find work in our community. So we have people coming who potentially are hearing impaired, they are blind, they are coming with walkers, they are coming in wheelchairs, they're riding their bikes, getting off of buses. So in addition to all of the vehicles turning in and out of there, we have a lot of people with a lot of needs that are coming in and out of that intersection. We have parents and caregivers that are driving vehicles, the special needs vehicles that are larger. They already, at those intersections, it's a little tight. When you try to get up to the street, we back right up. We butt right up onto the street with a longer vehicle. My concern with closing, which I do appreciate, thank you for that, with closing that street though, is that that's kind of like the one trick that we have sometimes is like, I can't go left right now, I just can't, because maybe somebody just got off of work, some manufacturing business just got out, and we can just kind of gun it over the intersection and go, and like then that's how we can weasel behind to get over to DVR, the job center downtown, which is where every funder that we work with is at. So that's how we can utilize those back roads, because there's already a road closed because of the new YMCA, Aspirus Clinic, like that road kind of got closed at one point. So then we're coming down to Fifth and we're weaseling back. And that's not all, it's not a problem. My team, we can do that. It's just that we wanted to keep in mind that if you add 8 more houses, 6 more houses or duplexes, that's a lot more vehicles there at that point that are also going to be trying to turn, especially they're probably going to have children. They're going to either be walking to Franklin or driving those kids to another school. That means in the mornings it's going to be even crazier, and in the afternoons it's going to be even crazier. So that's my biggest concern, is the traffic impact there. And also, I would just like to put a note out that an increased sort of lighting and or security from the city would be amazing. Sometimes our neighbors without homes utilize the parking lot and back, and that is okay. And I understand that there are not a lot of opportunities and places for people to go in town, and we're working on it. But we got to get a lot of glass out of tires in our parking lot already, and pick up a lot of garbage. And so if we're going to add more there, especially families with kids, I think that we really got to consider that as well, that we may need to beef up some security. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
I'll make sure that Becky's invited to the public input. That was very nice. I did consider that inviting the businesses that are on the north side of Bridge Street, like IBA is. So we will make sure to include them as well. So, any other questions? We got a couple.
Go,
I would
Mr.
just say this,
Kreisler.
just remember, this is just your initial
Yes.
look at this. This will be coming back to this committee in June for a final decision after we've had an opportunity to receive some of that public input, so.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, Thank you so much. And thank you from our star public speaker tonight, public commenter. Okay, then, next on our agenda, number 6 is approval of McDevco and the City of Wausau Microloan Program Guidelines.
Me again. And this time I'm bringing reinforcements. So in your packet, this is Kim Weber. She is the director of McDevco. She is incredible. Taking over the role over there has really increased the visibility of what McDevco does with the loan program. We've talked about how we can make loans not easier, but better, and what can small businesses, what do they need? So she's been working really hard on that. And last year, actually in January 2023, we approved a microloan program with our block grant funds of how we can lend up to $25,000 towards a small item or do some things that are helping a small business, because sometimes a low loan amount they can't get from a bank. And it's been very successful. I'll let her speak in a little bit because she's awesome, a lot better than I am. So what we're wanting to do, the City of Wausau actually started economic development with McDevco in the 70s. I can't tell you where the money came from. I can't tell you how much it was. But they recycled this money over and over and over for gap financing. We're also looking at using those funds as a microloan because the City of Wausau funds and block grant funds, there's two different sets of rules, if you want to say. The City of Wausau rules aren't as stringent as block grant, and they're able to do a few things that block grant funds can't do, like new construction. Block grant is really difficult. Then these sorts of funds can help if they have to build, I don't know. I'll let you speak. Go ahead, Kim.
So what we found, obviously coming out of COVID, Tammy and I went to the drawing board to say, what does McDevco currently lend on, and is that a good product for what entrepreneurs need? So in looking at what that was, predominantly we only did gap financing, where we had to work with a lead bank that was probably funding a larger project. So these loans weren't super approachable for somebody that needed inventory to be able to service customers, or if they had a hood in their restaurant that went out. Those are smaller purchases that can be the difference between being in business and maintaining employees or having to make a difficult decision. So that's where this loan program, really came from. And we like to think that these usually are folks that maybe a bank is referring to us or the community development department is referring to us that needs a smaller pot of funds at 3% interest, no prepayment penalties, removing the barriers so that they can do what they need to do to fund their business in a practical way. And then ultimately, they become great clients for a bank to take under their wing. But they're usually someone that a bank turns away and says, utilize a credit card, or we can't help you or assist you, especially in a rising rate environment. There's a lot of uncertainty about lending to startups or certain types of sectors. So this fund has been really successful. We've had at least 6 microloans under the City of Wausau umbrella, and the Marathon County Revolving Loan Fund partners that we have loved this program that we worked on together so much that now we offer it throughout Marathon County and not just the City of Wausau based on the template that we put together. So this would just allow us access to funds to be more nimble for the entrepreneurs that need the monies to add a 3-compartment sink and the appropriate items they need per the health department to add food to their business or a different stream of revenue in an environment that's been very challenging for our businesses.
Thank you, both. Questions, comments from committee members? So then I am seeking a motion to approve the McDevco and the City of Wausau Microloan Program Guidelines. Motion by Killian, second by Alder Tierney. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you so much. Thanks for the work you do, the important work. Okay, next then, number 7 is an update on Thomas Street infill and WAM grant. Mr. Pfeiffer.
Well, maybe it's a good thing that I don't have a very comprehensive update today. We're running a little bit long. I have reached out to Gina Larson twice now in the last month. I've not got an update on the status of the Rambo contract, so that's still waiting. Last we heard that contract was in review by the DNR, and then once that was done, that they would start testing. I've not seen any progress on that and don't have any further update for the committee at this point.
Questions, comments, nothing? Okay. Thank you for that. So then, number 8 on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding Domtar Dam Rehabilitation Project, letter of support.
Dave, if you want to approach the mic. We got a presentation in your packet. I'll let Dave walk through it.
All right, thank you, everybody. So my name is Dave Fawcett. I'm the general manager of the Domtar Rothschild Mill, paper mill here in Rothschild. I've got Steve Lewins with me. He's our environmental health and safety manager for Domtar as well. In case I step out of bounds, he'll reel me back in. But really my purpose here tonight is to kind of educate and inform about this project, about the benefit to the community, and kind of the approach we're taking. So if you can back, is there one more slide before this, or is this the first slide?
If there's one more slide before this, or if this is the first one.
Sorry.
Well, that's okay.
No, this is good. So just to start out, kind of, it's a community asset for north central Wisconsin, and I've been kind of presenting this same presentation to various county groups, and also the Village of Rothschild, the Rib Mountains, Schofield, and the City of Wausau here. All the kind of the municipalities are affected by Lake Wausau and the community here, which is really the project boundary caused by the dam, the Rothschild Dam, that Domtar is responsible for. So with that, the next slide, just kind of talking about what we are. The paper industry in Wisconsin really is one of the top 10 industries in Wisconsin, big part of the total manufacturing jobs and a significant economic contribution. And I'll just kind of, between the Rothschild and Nakusa mills here in central Wisconsin, $1 billion economic impact annually. So we are a big player and have a big impact in the community. So this isn't just improving the dam for Lake Wausau, it's also preserving the paper making industry in our footprint in central Wisconsin. So next slide. So between the two mills, and it's a unique situation for Domtar, our company, to have two mills in the same state. So between the Rothschild mill and the Nakusa mill, we are part of that Domtar family. We make different products, but we're both paper mills. But within the Domtar family, two of the oldest mills, and you can see the age there, but well over 100 years old. And in today's paper industry, that's a challenge in its own. But as I mentioned a little bit, between the two mills, we have about 750 direct employees between the two mills, with indirectly 3,500 jobs. And a couple of bullet points there. Just for example, the wood that we procure for the two facilities reach out to 57 of the, I think, 72 counties across Wisconsin. So we got a big input, big footprint, a big impact throughout the state of Wisconsin, and a big impact financially. But it doesn't just affect, those 750 jobs. It's an awful lot of the raw material suppliers and vendors and support to help make that happen. Next slide. So talking about the Rothschild Dam here specifically in Lake Wausau, I apologize, the picture, yeah, there you go, we kind of blow it up a little bit, and I'm sure you're well aware, but I mentioned the municipalities affected. It's Rib Mountain, it's the City of Wausau, Schofield, and and Rothschild, the village of Rothschild. We're located in Rothschild, so some of the preliminary permitting has gone directly through the village of Rothschild, and they've been a big help in that regard. But going back to the dam and the facility there, so the dam, originally to the paper mill provided a lot of value. It's how actually the logs came down from northern Wisconsin down through the river system, and that was really the method to bring the wood to the mill. And also it was a part of dewatering the wood in the upstream kind of impoundment there. But that's no longer the case. We don't bring the wood in, obviously, through the river anymore. It's all rail or trucks. And then the hydroelectric. 100 years ago, it was the energy that powered the mill. Today, it's really relatively insignificant. It has minimal impact on the electric consumption of the mill. What little bit of generation is made there is consumed by the mill, but it's pretty nominal, and it's really related to how much river flow there is. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But kind of over the course of the 100 years, it's really created a lot of benefit and value to the community, creating Lake Wausau and everything around that. I'll say the whole socioeconomic benefit to the community, the quality of life, the tax revenue, the reservoir management, flood control, really a big significant player in the flood control, both upstream and downstream. Minimizes most events, so to the point where most people are not affected. So it is a big part of the entire reservoir management system and the recreational opportunities. So just wanted to call out, it is today it's really kind of developed into more of a value and a benefit to the community than it is to the paper mill, and that's significant today. Next page. This is it's a PDF, so this isn't going to work. The video isn't going to work, but it just kind of is a high level view, kind of zooming in down onto the Lake Wausau and the Rothschild Dam. We can cover that in some of the next couple pages, the pictures. So challenges facing the dam. That's the picture of the dam there from the west shore looking east towards the village of Rothschild. The area that's circled in red there is the timber crib spillway. What's significant, the structure is about 800 feet wide. Most of it is concrete and in very good shape. The structure in red there is wood. It's a timber crib spillway section. The best way I can kind of articulate it is like a Lincoln log structure. There's way more under the water than there is above the water there. But it is nearly impossible to repair a section at a time. Because of the Lincoln log structure, you can't isolate and make a complete repair to a section at a time. We've been trying to do a Band-Aid approach for the last 15 years. We've invested over $12 million to try to patch and repair underwater, above ground, with divers, you name it. And really, it is at the point now where something needs to be done. And the plant is licensed by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Domtar has an operating permit and a license with the FERC. They do independent inspections every 1 year, every 3 years, every 5 years. And a couple, 3, 4, 5 years ago during a routine inspection, that's when they officially put Domtar on notice that this is leaking to the point where we need to put some plans in place. You're on a regulatory timeline to address the condition of this timber crib spillway. So we've been working for the last couple of years to what does that look like? What are options to repair it, replace it? All the possible options, and that's really kind of where we're at today. Is we do have a plan to address that and replace the timber with a new concrete section that would essentially relife the asset. Next page. So a little bit about the project. So the project to replace that section is estimated at $84 million. There's nothing cheap about it. It's roughly a 3 to 4 year project. I'll go through a little bit of details of what the project looks like. But Domtar will continue to maintain the dam as part of its ongoing commitment to Wisconsin. We're the owner, operator, we're licensed to maintain it, so we're going to do the right thing, but we're really looking for some help because it not only, because it provides value to the community, and there isn't really a return on investment to Domtar to do this other than it's a regulatory requirement. And my concern, having been at this mill for 30 years and looking at the state of the paper industry and the age of these mills, is that's not a good sign for Domtar to have to invest that kind of money into something with no return while the paper industry continues to be stressed and challenged and threaten those jobs. So Domtar is really looking, we're seeking a solution to fund this project with cost-sharing opportunities at the local, regional, state, and federal levels. And I can tell you we've been working hard for the last 6 to 8 months or so at the state and federal levels to identify funding opportunities, whether it's grants, loans, any other kind of funding. So that's what we've been working on the last couple of years to support the approach. And the next page, I think, covers some of that. So Domtar proposes funding 1/3 of the projected cost, so roughly $28 million. And we're looking for equitable cost-sharing partnerships, to help support the rest of that. And that is the approach, that we think can help benefit the community, the economic health in the area, and to ensure that the facility, the asset there stays intact and provides the benefit, whether it's economic value, the public safety, flood control. And the next page is really kind of what wraps this up. I don't think it's this page, maybe the next page, and I'll come back to this. So by securing these partnerships, and here's really where Domtar is kind of standing behind this, and there's a signed letter that has been out and made available, but if we can secure this, this cost-sharing approach, Domtar commits to investing $100 million into the 2 mills over the next 3 years. So essentially what Domtar is saying is we'd rather invest that money into pulp and paper making technology to keep these old mills competitive as compared to repairing the dam and have the paper mill, just kind of ride off into the sunset over time here. So that's kind of the approach here. By securing the partnerships, Domtar will commit to investing $100 million. In the event funding from these options exceeds that 2/3, we'll return, whatever to the state or federal to make it even. With the current state and the federal offices, the federal in Washington, D.C., the federal funding is really in a state of flux. We've been working hard with all of our representatives there. Senator Baldwin's office has identified a potential, congressional directed spending budget to help maybe with a portion of this, and we're working hard at the state level to identify some support. And really, that's what's kind of got me here today, is the feedback that we're really getting from Madison. Our key representatives in Madison was, what kind of support are you getting at the local level? If the federal and state, agencies are going to support this, we'd really like to see some support locally. So that's kind of my pitch here today is, it's been very helpful to get letters of support from the area, agencies and municipalities to say this is the right thing to do for this region. A letter of support to get a DOE grant or a federal grant or a state grant goes a long ways. And that is one way that you can show support to help make this happen. So if you want to go back a page, and I apologize, I'm kind of getting long-winded here, but I mentioned we've been working hard, and the Wausau Chamber of Commerce, and this is Synergy, which was kind of the Central Wisconsin Day down in Madison. We had 4 initiatives on the agenda, and this dam project was one of the top 4 for this region. So we have a lot of support at the state level. And again, the marching orders really kind of from the state is we think we can help, but we'd really like to see more support at the local level. So I'm taking the time, and it's to speak to the county, to speak to the village, and try to educate and inform and get some letters of support. And I don't know financially. I know it's a difficult sell to get financial support, but for sure the letters of support are incredibly helpful as we move forward. Next page. We've talked about this, the community benefits of taking care of this. I think everybody understands the benefit of Lake Wausau and the community. And, you know, when you look at the whole project reservoir boundary going up the Rib River and up the main channel of the Wisconsin River and up the Eau Claire, I mean, it's a big footprint, and a lot of people are affected by, you know, taking care of this asset, you know, for the long term. So, next page. So this is a Domtar website that we're keeping. It's currently active and out there and has all the latest project information on there. Domtar hasn't done any sort of media release on this yet because we're still awaiting some of the final permits. The Army Corps of Engineers, the FERC, DNR, there are, you know, there's probably a dozen different permits in various states of approval, and we have full you know, confidence that that's all going to go. But in the event one of them results in some sort of design change at the last second, that's why we have been reluctant to issue a press release. But everything short of that is on this website. So the QR code is there, the link is there. You know, any frequently asked questions there go to me and our public affairs manager. So you are going directly to the Rothschild Mill and me to answer questions. And I've called people back directly myself. So feel free to promote that and share that so people can get whatever information. There's an FAQ section in there that after all of these meetings and any questions or comments that have been brought up, we've kind of repurposed back into that document to continue to educate and share the message. Next page. And just a couple, I mentioned the project itself, and this I think probably is what a lot of people are interested in. So the details of the project, you can see the picture on the lower left, which shows an aerial view of the dam. The mill is on the upper left-hand side. The parking lot and boat landing and stuff are on the right-hand side. The timber crib section is on the west or the right-hand side there, and you can see it's kind of outlined by the cofferdam gray shaded area. So the project will be this, to install an upstream and downstream cofferdam so we can isolate that timber crib section. That will allow us to dewater that section, completely demolish all the timber crib structure that's there, and then go back in and reinstall a brand new concrete structure that is shown on the right there, a cutout of what that will look like. And then after that is in, the cofferdams would be removed in roughly 3 years, and then that structure would be in place and would be controlling the flow of the river as it always has been. So a lot of effort has gone in with the cofferdam design to make sure that we don't end up having to do any drawdowns of Lake Wausau. So having worked through, we've done an awful lot of repairs to this structure over the last 30 years, and all of it's been underwater and diving. We did one drawdown, I think, in 2016, and it, you know, caused a lot of grief for the community. So we've added quite a bit of cost to the project, but we will be able to avoid any drawdowns during the duration of the construction. So that should be viewed as a benefit. If you go to the next picture there, this is what needs to be demolished. It kind of helps give you a visual of what's there. This is when it was constructed, I think, in the early 60s, the second or third version maybe, if not earlier. But, I mean, that's the structure that needs to come out, and that's where the new concrete section will go in. So if you can go back maybe one more time. So the flow control, the flow dynamics, the flood events, whether it's a 50-year, a 100-year, a 500-year, all of this modeling has been done by all the FERC agencies and independent board of consultants, reviewed by FEMA and DNR. So we're going to great length to make sure when this thing is done, it will do exactly what it was designed to do, and no further, negative impacts or adverse impacts to the public, and really be a primary flow control device to help protect everybody upstream. You can go to the last page. I think that, and just, as I mentioned, working with all our representatives, whether it's the state or federal level, we've had a lot of our, elected officials into the mill to give them a tour of the mill, kind of the paper manufacturing business. We've got a really successful business in Rothschild, employing a lot of people, and I'd really like to see that continue on. It's been a great opportunity for me and all of the folks that have come through that mill, and this is a real opportunity to get a commitment of $100 million for a 100-year-old paper mill. We've certainly seen what has happened to Wisconsin Rapids and Park Falls and Brokaw, some of these other mills. And this is truly an opportunity for the community to rally behind this to the mutual benefit of everybody. So I think that's, so really my ask is, a letter of support that we can use when we are down in Madison lobbying for for any funding that we can get there. I've got some examples of what that has looked like that the chamber and county have provided, if that helps. But if we could get the support of the city to help, demonstrate this is the right thing to do, that would be great. Sorry, I got a little long-winded there.
I thought it was very interesting personally. Questions, comments?
Just to add, there's a proposed letter of support that we would utilize within your packet at the very end of it.
We can certainly,
Question then, would the letter come from the city council then as such, or from this committee?
The way I
Like a
currently
ma-
have it set, it's coming from the mayor's office.
From the mayor's office?
Correct.
Then couldn't he have just signed that by himself, or does he need some city? I see the letter from the mayor, but how does that affect the city council?
I
I don't know, I'm sure not, don't mean to be questioning the letter, I'm just questioning where the letter should be coming from to the appropriate legislators in Madison and Washington and whoever. I see the letter in the packet from the mayor to Senator Baldwin. I'm just wondering what role the city council should be playing in this.
That's a fair question. We can talk about it more as we move this forward. What we've done and with some of the other approvals through this, it's been the chief elected official that signed off on the letter. If you'd like us to make changes to it, or we could add something in there to the effect that the council has approved this resolution or
Should be
this-
a resolution. If it
Well,
comes through as a resolution, then that would be from the council directing the mayor.
Yep, so we'll have a resolution. We've already got it drafted for the council packet next Tuesday. But in terms of the letter of support, we had it coming from the mayor. If there's wishes to have it,
Well,
signed
they
by
can come from
council.
both sources, then I would trust, right? From the executive as well as from the legislative. That'll be fine. I'm just curious about, so there is I think it's appropriate that the city council does it itself. I mean, we've certainly done this before. We've certainly engaged our state representatives and our national representatives, as well we should, in matters of state and national interest. So did you need a motion on this, or how did you want to proceed?
If you want to make a motion to have the letter coming from the council, we can make that happen.
That's my motion, yes.
okay, so motion for letter of support from the council and
From the city
mayor-
council.
From city council, and a second by motion by Alder Gisselman, I'm sorry, and second by Alder Tierney. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Alder Gisselman. And with that, item number 9 is, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Alder Tierney, second by Alder Henke. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.